what's up everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Rad Dad Builds. So today in this episode, I'm going to be showing you how I get my home ready for winter. Yes, you heard me right, and it's a pretty serious thing. So if you yourself are a homeowner, doing so could potentially save you a whole bunch of money and prolong the life of your home. So let's get into it. There's a whole bunch of things you need to do to get your home prepared and ready for winter. And they involve the interior and the exterior of your home. So we'll make a start with the exterior first, and then we'll move on to the inside where it's nice and warm. So first things first, you need to clean out all your gutters, your downspouts, and your perimeter drains. As the winter comes, the temperature drops, and so does all the leaves on the trees surrounding your properties. And 9 times out of 10, those leaves get blown onto your roof and they accumulate and clog up your gutters. When all the leaves accumulate in your gutters with all the grit from the shingles and debris flowing around the air, they clog up your drains and they fill up with water, which is not good. When your gutters become clogged, and the rainwater will no longer be able to divert itself away from your property. So they just become full and spill over the edge and cause a number of issues, like foundation damage, structural issues, mold and mildew, and much, much more. So it's a good idea to regularly check your gutters and get them cleaned out. And a good sign to know if your gutters are full and clogged with leaves, if you can't see them out of your windows on the inside of your home, come on the outside and see if there's any water spilling up after a big heavy rainfall, or check out if the corners are dripping heavily, because the corners are the weak spot of most gutter systems. Unfortunately for me, I'm able to get up onto my roof and clean my gutters myself. Ugh.
What the heck?
But if you're unable to do so and it's unsafe for you to do so, then I recommend you hire a professional who can come and clean your gutters and your roof safely. And it's really not that expensive to come and get a professional in to clean your gutters and your roof safely and efficiently, especially compared to the price if you just left this and had to repair all the damages afterward. It's also a good idea while you're up here to remove any debris from the roof itself, because that can also cause a lot of issues.
Are you kidding me?
So it's also a good idea to check all the downspouts that are connected to your gutter system to make sure that they are diverting the water away from your house, or in this case, the workshop. For instance, this one was covered in mulch by the previous owner. For whatever reason, I do not know, and it was blocked up. This whole gutter system was full of water overflowing, and I couldn't figure out why. And it's because it had nowhere to go, and the foundation was soaking wet. And over a long period of time, this could cause a lot of serious damage. So for now, I just dug a channel so the water can escape, but in due time, I will repair this so it can be more efficient and look a lot better. But for the time being, over the winter periods, the water can still get away from the foundation and do what it's supposed to do. And then once your gutters and your downspouts are all clear and running and functioning correctly, you want to go around and check your perimeter drains. Like this one, for instance, is covered in pine needles. And if we had a big heavy rain, this would block up and then potentially flood the basement, which would suck. So you want to make sure your perimeter drains are all clear from debris and the area around it, because as soon as any water comes down, all this stuff, all this debris and pine needles are going to come in and wash and clog it up again. So you want to clean the area around it as well. Next up, you're going to want to check your garage doors, and specifically the seals at the bottom of your garage doors, which seal to the ground. And you want to make sure that it's sealed to the ground well enough so it's not going to let any water coming through. More often than not, your garage door is at the end of your driveway, and during heavy rain, a lot of water can rush down your driveway and potentially flood your garage. So you want to make sure that it's sealed to the concrete or to the floor correctly and efficiently so nothing can get in. So you're going to want to check the seal for any debris or anything trapped underneath it that may let water through. And you also want to check to see if there's any cracks, splits or tears in the seal, which will also let a lot of water through. Fortunately, mine's in pretty good condition, but if yours is pretty worn or looks like it needs to be replaced, not to worry, because it's pretty inexpensive and most hardware stores will stock the seal that you need. So up next is the outdoor faucets or outdoor taps that you have on the perimeter of your home. And this is another important one. As the winter months come in, things get colder, things start to freeze, and so do your faucets. See, if this freezes, it has the potential of freezing the pipes on the inside of the house as well. And when water is in pipes and it freezes, it has a tendency to expand and has the potential risk to crack and split the pipe, which when thawed out will cause a huge, huge mess inside your home. And it's more often than not, it's somewhere where you can't easily get to, and it's just a big, big mess. Most modern houses have faucets that can prevent this, but I haven't had a chance to swap these out yet, so there's a few simple things that I can do to help prevent this. And sometimes, depending on your house, you can come on the inside and turn off access to your exterior faucets without disrupting the plumbing on the inside of your house. Unfortunately, my house doesn't have this, so I have to go with option B. For me, I got this simple insulated bag that I picked up from my local hardware store. There's a few different styles. I like this one the best because it's not as ugly as the polystyrene cone things. But you simply just slip it on over all your faucets and then lock it in, and then just leave it like that until you gotta use it or until the weather starts warming up a little bit. And it's pretty simple. So up next, you're gonna wanna walk around the exterior of your home and look out for any cracks or splits in whatever kind of finish you have on the outside of your home. For me, I have cedar shiplap siding, which is prone to splitting and cracking, but for me, it's been pretty well looked after and it's in pretty good condition. But if I see any small holes or cracks, I'm going to fill them with an exterior grade caulking or an exterior grade silicone, which is paintable, and that eventually will stop all water and cold air coming in and breaking down the envelope of your home. And while you're doing all that, you're going to want to pay special attention to your trim around your doors and windows, because more often than not, the trim is made out of wood, and as the seasons change, the wood expands and contracts, and little gaps will appear, which could let in a lot of water and a lot of air. So again, if you see any little cracks, fill them with some exterior grade caulking or exterior grade silicone, which is paintable, so that you can touch it up when it dries and blend it all back in again. Now that that's most of the outside covered, let's get inside where it's warm. So during the winter months, we all spend a whole bunch of money heating our home. So it's important to know whatever heating system you have is that it's running safely, smoothly, and efficiently. So my house has a few different heat sources. My main heat source is this forced air unit, which basically draws cold air from the outside, warms it up, and then shoots it around the house through all this ducting that's hidden in all my walls. So it's a very expensive unit. It's very expensive to repair, so I want to make sure that it's running efficiently and it's going to last a long time. A few ways that I can do that is by having it regularly serviced and maintained by a professional, and usually most units like this will have a date from when it was last serviced and when the next service is due. For me, it was last serviced in 2017 and it was due in 2020. So this is well overdue a service, so I'm going to get a professional to come in and do so. There's a few things that I can do myself, which is change the filter regularly, so put a new filter in there. I also want to have my ducts cleaned regularly and cleared from obstructions. So I also have a couple of propane fireplaces around the house, which is linked to an external propane tank, which is outside. So if you're like me and your gas source isn't connected to the city gas and you have to get your own gas brought in, well, you want to make sure that the gas is topped up before the season starts. See, most people realize they're out of gas when it's time to use it, and then everyone's ordering gas at the same time, and there's usually a big wait. So you're spending the first couple of weeks in the winter periods where it should be nice and warm and you're freezing cold. And if you do have a gas fireplace, you also want to make sure that the plumbing going to your gas fireplace is regularly maintained and working efficiently as well, because obviously gas leaks, well, that can be deadly, and it's important to know that your gas fireplace is running safely. And we also have a couple of baseboard heaters kicking around the house, so before you turn them on, you want to make sure that they're free from obstruction and there's nothing stuffed in there. And we all know heating your home throughout the winter is very, very expensive, or at least it can be. And with the actual heating itself and the maintenance costs and the service and the repairs, it's a lot of money, and you want to make sure that all that heat that you're accumulating is staying within your house and not escaping, else you're basically just throwing money away. Which leads us to the next part of the video. So next up is to go around and check all your windows and doors for any drafts or leaks. And leaks are normally pretty obvious to find. You'll see a bunch of water or mold and stuff like that. And more times than not, it's usually due to these little drain holes in your window being clogged up. And you want to make sure to go around and clean those out anyway, because they're a good way to get rid of condensation. See, as the inside of your house is warm and the outside of your house is cold, when the two meet on the glass, it forms a whole bunch of condensation, and that's why you might have some water on the inside of your windowsills, which is pretty common. But I have seen in renovations before that condensation can cause a lot of damage when built up, plus mold and all that kind of gross stuff. So you want to make sure that they're clean so everything can escape out. And to find out if your window or door has a draft, it's pretty easy. So the inside of your home is usually pretty warm. So you want to go around and feel and see if you feel any cold spots. Because more often than not, especially with doors, as they get a lot of use, the seals on the inside of the frame break down and they cause drafts to come in and out, which is not good. Fortunately, this door is pretty good. So if the seals on your windows and doors are letting in cold air and letting warm air out, not to worry, because the seals are pretty inexpensive to buy, and there's a bunch of different types to suit whatever type of door or window you have at most hardware stores. And there's other items you can buy as well, like draft excluders and much more to help your windows and doors keep in the warm air and keep the old air out. But for me, I've noticed a bit of a draft around the corner of this window here, the top corner along here. So why don't we go look outside and investigate and see what we got. And as expected, there's a bit of a gap between the trim of the door and the window here, which is obviously where all the cold air is coming from the outside in. So for me, this door is going to get replaced in the summer with a more modern door. So for now, I'm just going to fill it with some exterior grade caulk, and it's going to work perfectly throughout the winter months. And now that the draft has disappeared, I'm happy because it was a simple, easy fix, and it could potentially save me some money over the winter. And you may want to check the insulation in your attic or your loft space, as this time of year people like to go up there and drag down like the Christmas trees and lights and stuff like that. And sometimes you can drag the insulation up with it and it can cause holes in the insulation or it can compress it. So you want to make sure that it is nice and fluffy and it's spread well and there's no holes or potential areas where the heat can escape up through your ceiling and out. And now that we know that there's no heat escaping and we have all these different types of ways to heat our homes, you want to go around and check and make sure that all your smoke alarms are working correctly and none of the batteries are flat. See, you're supposed to check these once a month anyway, and I know for a fact you don't. So now's a good time any to go check it out and see if it's working. And that one's working. And now finally, the last thing to do on the list is to make sure that your home is nice and cozy and well lit, which happens to be the most perfect time to introduce this week's video sponsor, Inlight. So Inlight is illuminating the Amazon marketplace with a sleek and stylish lighting product. And not only Inlight cool enough to sponsor this week's video, but they're also cool enough to send me a few of the products to try out. For instance, check out this 66-inch retro arc floor lamp with a rose gold tiltable shade and a black marble base, which was super easy to set up and install. Combining simplicity, class, and modern vibes, this floor lamp will set the tone in any room. And when you receive your light from Inlight, it will receive the appropriate tools for assembly and the bulb to make the whole process a lot easier. So if you want your home looking classy yet cozy for this winter, and you're in the market for a new side light or floor light, definitely go check out Inlight because I'll link all their info down below. Thanks again for Inlight for sponsoring this video, and if you're watching this video in December, I want to wish you all a rad Christmas and a rad New Year. And I'll see you in the next video. Yeah! Let's go. Because more often than not, especially indoors, God damn it. God! I know. Pretty common that on doors, especially doors.